Michael Tanzi, A Killer's Plea. Is obesity a shield against execution? Could a man's own body become his last defense against the ultimate punishment? We delve into the case of Michael Tanzi, a convicted murderer facing execution, who argues that his morbid obesity makes lethal injection cruel and unusual. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tanzi's legal team is invoking the Eighth Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. They argue that his severe medical conditions make him particularly vulnerable to suffering during lethal injection. His conditions include morbid obesity, severe chronic sciatica, hyperlipidemia, uncontrolled hypertension, and gastroesophageal reflux disease. These ailments, they claim, complicate the process and increase the risk of a botched execution. The core of their argument is that Florida's lethal injection protocols don't adequately account for Tanzi's unique medical profile. This oversight, they contend, could lead to serious illness and needless suffering, violating his constitutional rights. Tanzi's lawyers have requested a stay of execution and an evidentiary hearing to fully examine these claims. They want the court to consider the potential for pain and suffering given his specific health challenges. The Florida Attorney General's office has vehemently opposed Tanzi's appeal. They argue that his concerns are without merit and represent a last-ditch effort to avoid justice. The state maintains that its lethal injection procedure, in place since 2017, is constitutional and humane. They assert that it minimizes the risk of pain and suffering for all inmates, regardless of their medical conditions. Furthermore, the Attorney General's office argues that Tanzi could have raised these concerns earlier in the appeals process. Their failure to do so, they claim, weakens the credibility of his current argument. The state has characterized Tanzi's concerns as meritless, suggesting they are a delaying tactic rather than a genuine concern for his well-being. They are pushing for the execution to proceed as scheduled. The legal arguments surrounding Tanzi's execution are inextricably linked to the horrific crime he committed. Understanding the details of Janet Acosta's murder is crucial to understanding the context of this case. In April 2000, Tanzi carjacked Janet Acosta at gunpoint. He approached her vehicle, feigning a request for the time and a cigarette, before revealing his true intentions. He held Acosta hostage, terrorizing her with a razor blade. The situation escalated into a brutal sexual assault and ultimately her strangulation. After murdering Acosta, Tanzi disposed of her body in a wooded area. He then compounded his crimes by using her ATM card to withdraw money. Tanzi eventually confessed to the crime after being apprehended by law enforcement. His confession provided crucial details and solidified the case against him. Tanzi pled guilty to first-degree murder, carjacking, kidnapping, and armed robbery. This admission of guilt set the stage for the penalty phase of the trial. During the penalty phase, Tanzi's defense team presented evidence of his mental health issues and childhood trauma. They hoped to persuade the jury to recommend a life sentence instead of the death penalty. Despite these efforts, the jury ultimately recommended the death penalty. This recommendation carried significant weight, influencing the judge's final decision. Previous appeals filed by Tanzi have been unsuccessful. This current appeal focuses specifically on the method of execution, arguing that it constitutes cruel and unusual punishment given his medical conditions. The court has established an expedited schedule for these proceedings. This tight timeline reflects the urgency of the situation, given Tanzi's scheduled execution date. The trial court proceedings are to be completed by March 19, 2025. This leaves little time for arguments, evidence presentation, and judicial review. The notice of appeal must be filed by 11 a.m. on a specific date. This deadline underscores the pressure and the high stakes involved in this legal battle. The expedited schedule highlights the legal system's attempt to balance the need for due process with the imperative of carrying out a lawfully imposed sentence. In February 2009, Tanzi filed a motion for post-conviction relief. This motion sought to overturn his conviction or sentence based on alleged errors in the original trial. The post-conviction court denied relief after summarily denying several claims and holding an evidentiary hearing. This decision further solidified Tanzi's death sentence. Tanzi appealed the denial of his post-conviction motion and petitioned for a writ of habeas corpus. These legal maneuvers represent his continued efforts to challenge his conviction and sentence. Tanzi asserted that he was being denied a meaningful appellate review. He argued that the trial court did not provide detailed findings of fact and conclusions of law in its order. The court concluded that Tanzi was not being denied meaningful appellate review. They found that the orders were sufficient to understand the trial court's reasoning for denying his post-conviction claims. This ruling highlights the importance of clear and comprehensive judicial orders in ensuring fair appellate review. It also underscores the court's role in safeguarding the integrity of the legal process. Tanzi claimed that his trial counsel was ineffective during the penalty phase. He cited several alleged failures, including inconsistent mental health testimony and a failure to investigate his XYY abnormality. The court disagreed, finding that Tanzi failed to establish the necessary requirements for relief. This ruling underscores the high bar for proving ineffective assistance of counsel. To succeed on such a claim, a defendant must demonstrate both that their counsel's performance was deficient and that this deficiency prejudiced their case. Tanzi failed to meet this burden. Tanzi argued that his trial counsel was ineffective for presenting mental health experts who did not collaborate. He claimed that their varying diagnoses prejudiced his case. The court disagreed, finding that Tanzi failed to demonstrate deficiency or prejudice. This ruling highlights the challenges of coordinating expert testimony in complex legal cases. It also underscores the court's deference to strategic decisions made by trial counsel, even when those decisions are subject to second-guessing. Tanzi claimed that counsel was ineffective for failing to investigate and present evidence of his XY genotype. He argued that this evidence could have influenced the jury's decision. The court disagreed, finding that there was not a reasonable probability that this evidence would have led to a different result. This ruling reflects the court's skepticism towards genetic defenses in criminal cases. It also highlights the importance of demonstrating a clear link between a genetic abnormality and the defendant's criminal behavior. Tanzi claimed that trial counsel was ineffective for presenting the testimony of Dr. Vickery. He also argued that counsel failed to provide Dr. Vickery with a videotape of his confession. The court affirmed the trial court's denial of this claim. They found that Tanzi failed to demonstrate that the decision to present Dr. Vickery's testimony was deficient or that it prejudiced his case. This ruling underscores the importance of strategic decision-making by trial counsel in presenting expert testimony. It also highlights the challenges of proving that a particular piece of evidence would have changed the outcome of the trial. Tanzi argued that trial counsel was ineffective for failing to call additional mitigation witnesses. He claimed that these witnesses could have provided valuable testimony about his background and character. The court affirmed the trial court's denial of relief. They found that Tanzi failed to demonstrate either the deficiency or prejudice prongs of Strickland. This ruling highlights the importance of thorough investigation and preparation by trial counsel in presenting mitigation evidence. It also underscores the challenges of proving that additional witnesses would have made a difference in the outcome of the trial. Tanzi argued that the trial court erred in denying several of his post-conviction claims without an evidentiary hearing. He claimed that these claims warranted further investigation. The court affirmed the trial court's summary denial. They found that the claims were either facially insufficient, procedurally barred, or without merit. This ruling underscores the importance of presenting clear and compelling evidence in support of post-conviction claims. It also highlights the court's discretion in determining whether an evidentiary hearing is necessary. Tanzi contended that his motion for leave to amend his post-conviction motion should have been granted. He argued that he had good cause for amending his motion. The court concluded that the trial court did not abuse its discretion in denying Tanzi's motion. They found that good cause was not shown. This ruling highlights the importance of adhering to procedural rules and deadlines in legal proceedings. It also underscores the court's discretion in managing its own docket. Tanzi argued that the trial court erred in denying his request for records from the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. He sought the rights advisory card and the personnel file of Detective James Norman. The court affirmed the trial court. They found that the trial court did not abuse its discretion with regard to these records requests. This ruling underscores the importance of demonstrating a clear need for requested records in legal proceedings. It also highlights the court's role in protecting the privacy of law enforcement personnel. In his habeas petition, Tanzi alleged that his appellate counsel was ineffective on direct appeal. He claimed that counsel failed to raise a claim regarding misstatements of law during voir dire and for failing to raise a Crawford claim. The court denied his petition. This ruling represents another setback in Tanzi's efforts to challenge his conviction and sentence. It also underscores the challenges of proving ineffective assistance of appellate counsel. The court affirmed the denial of Tanzi's post-conviction motion and denied his habeas petition. This decision brings Tanzi closer to execution. A concurring opinion focused on Tanzi's failure to establish prejudice. It questioned counsel's performance, but ultimately concluded that it did not undermine confidence in the outcome of the penalty phase. The case of Michael Tanzi raises complex legal and ethical questions. Does morbid obesity provide a legitimate basis for challenging a death sentence? How should the courts balance the rights of the condemned with the need for justice for victims? What do you think? Should Tanzi's execution proceed, or does his medical condition warrant a stay? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of true crime cases. Click the notification bell to stay updated on our latest content. Your engagement helps us bring you more stories and analyses like this one.